Good morning, and what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Casual Podcast with your boy, Brian Girley, the Casual Brian. Today, we're talking about the Great Mass Debate. Also, we're looking at the comparison between Richardson, and I cannot remember the Russian skater's name who tested positive. I'm going to look for a post, see if I can find it. If not, I believe I can find it because it's on Facebook, but I'm going to share that and we're going to discuss because there's a very interesting conversation around that. But first, before we get into it, I want to thank everybody watching from Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We are live, and again, if you haven't heard, what I'm going to be doing now is I'm only going to be posting the podcast with guests on the actual audio version. We're going to keep it like that for a little bit. So yes, if you're interested in being a guest, reach out. Lots of room. Scheduling is tricky, but we're working it out. We're working it out. We're getting it together. So with that being said, let's get into it. The great mask debate. Well, let me first start off by saying this. I enter into the great mask debate somewhat cautiously. Um, I understand that I do not have children, and I believe now, knowing myself, knowing my family, knowing my wife, I do have a way of thinking that I would imagine my children would be in masks. I don't even have to say I'd imagine. I know my children would be in masks. I think that mask help prevent spread of anything, not just COVID, of any and everything. I think masks have been shown. I mean, as we can see, doctors, when they're doing surgery on you, they wear a mask. And what is that mask for? People are like, well, that's not to protect you. Yes, it's the mask. There's so much of the issue with COVID is the messaging. Masks are to protect others first, and then there is a measure of protection for yourself. That's why when I see people in mixed crowds and they're wearing a mask, it kind of, I don't want to say it doesn't make sense, because again, there is a secondary level of protection for you, but really you're wearing the mask and it's giving the most protection to the people around who don't seem to care about it. So the understanding of wearing masks should always be, me wearing a mask is good for you and you wearing a mask is good for me. Um I recently had COVID and I tested and I was negative for um 3 days into COVID. It wasn't until the fourth day or so that I actually, fourth or third day, that I actually tested positive. Now, if I'm, luckily for me, I felt like I had a cold enough on the first day that I didn't go out. And I was like, maybe I just need to rest my body. But on that second day, I could have easily gone. In fact, the day I tested positive, I was planning on going to the gym, to jujitsu actually, but tested positive, felt fine, tested positive. So in that circumstance, me wearing a mask would prevent me or decrease the amount of spreading that I would do. That's the whole concept of mask. It's not 100%. Everyone knows that. It's definitely not 100%, or there a high level of protection for you yourself. Everyone knows that. But what it does is, if I wear a mask, it's a team sport. Wearing mask is a team sport. We do it for each other. And again, there is benefits. There are benefits for yourself. If you go to a country like Japan or China, you see masks all the time in public. It just, it makes sense. Now, I am in no way advocating for us to continue to have a life filled with masks. I do not love wearing my mask. I do not love putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off. I'm not I will be totally fine when the time comes. In fact, I was excited because I thought New York is has rolled back the mask thing. Now New York City hasn't. I'm okay with it. I get it. We have a lot more people. We're a lot closer to each other, but we're getting there. And when we do get there, your boy will not have his mask on. You know, I find the struggle to be, can we have compromise? You know, I think that vaccines are safe, but I understand that they are, you're putting something in your body that wasn't there originally. And it did come fast, even though it was built on years of research. I understand vaccines. So can you wear a mask? You know, to me, the issue is, what are you willing to do to help make this situation better, to help us, you know what I mean? Like, keep the spread down. I'm you know what I'm very scared about? And it's not fear of like of getting sick. I'm getting vaccinated. If they ask me to get a fourth and a fifth shot, I'll do it. I don't care. I don't It doesn't bother me, you know? I take medicine. That's how medicine works. I don't say, "Oh, I've taken thousands of pills. I'm never taking the." I If it protects me, if it's what I need to get better, that's what I'm gonna do. That's how medicine works. If the efficacy of the vaccines wane, they need to be boosted. It's you. It's up to you. But what I'm afraid of for this summer is that we have another summer wave, another variant, which we're going to keep getting because people don't get vaccinated. And so it just bounces back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, at this point, I think I don't, with the way that the virus is mutating, I don't think it's possible for anyone to completely avoid getting COVID. I think it's just how you get COVID now. It's just because it's just the virus keeps mutating and getting better. I mean, the difference from the UK strand to the Delta strand was crazy, and that was already like more contagious, and then Omicron blew away our expectations as to what it means to be contagious. You know, so if we're just looking at the trend seems to be that the virus is is shifting to being more easily spread. That being said, it seems that it might also be becoming less of a serious situation. Now, that doesn't mean that for some it won't be a serious situation, but that's any sickness. Now we're getting into the place where most people thought we were from the start, which I disagree with very strongly. Now we're getting into the ballpark of where, okay, you know what? You probably won't have that bad of an experience thanks to um, the uh, the vaccines, thanks to doctors and becoming better at treating it, thanks to more therapeutics coming out. Um, like I've told people, when I had COVID, it was essentially 12 bad hours, if that, you know. So but see, I say all that. It's a very long lead in. The mass debate doesn't make sense to me. It's a very low ask. Put on a mask to go into the grocery store. I just don't get it. Is that the level of strength we have, of toughness, of mental toughness? It's irritating, yes, I get it. But it's not one, it is definitely not an encroachment on your liberties. That every time I hear people talking about their freedoms and their liberties, it makes me realize how privileged the majority of the people in our country are. You're you're upset about your liberties and your freedoms. And there are people that are being exploited in this country. There are people who are being trafficked in this country. There are people that are being taken advantage of, starving children, groups that are being attacked for their race, for their gender. We have gender inequality with respect to pay. And you're talking about having to wear a mask. What are you talking about? That's the worst of your life. Lockdowns are real. That was tough. That's a debate we can have. Lockdowns. I don't feel our government did a great job of supporting us during the lockdowns. I feel like we also took uh we didn't do a good job of coming up with a standardized system by which we know when we need to like lock down or tighten up. I don't like lockdowns. I don't think we need lockdowns. I think we need to tighten up and restrict based on the numbers. But mask in a grocery store, on a train, on a plane, people going crazy. You you knew when you bought that plane ticket what the deal was. You knew what the deal was. And it's for all of us. It's not an attack on your freedom. Everyone has to wear a mask that gets on that plane. So what's the deal? It's not about freedom, it's about selfishness. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. It's not about freedom. It's about you. I want to do what I want to do and I don't want anyone to tell me what I can do. Sorry, that's not how a society, a community works. We have to make compromises for the greater good of the community, for the greater good of society. Comparing it to slavery and Nazis? Are you kidding me? Have you read did you were you listening in history? Do you honestly think having to wear a mask is anywhere comparable to what the Nazis did to the Jews? What happened to African Americans? It's like, what are we talking about? I'm I am sure that this has been difficult, but it's a pandemic. It's going to be difficult. During the recession, it was difficult. Nobody wants these things. Nobody plans for these things. We do the best, we put the pieces back together, and we can do it better if we do it together, but we're not together on anything because every side is using this. Now, I put a lot of the blame on the media and the politicians. Not the mainstream media, which in my what is that? I don't the media, both sides, because both sides is pushing out spin, pushing out narrative, and fueling the fire of the people. The majority of the people are somewhere between like, "Ah, I'm tired of this mask, but I don't really care." But the loudest people are the ones who are talking about their freedoms, and the other ones on the other side talking about you're trying to kill me. No, they're not trying to kill you. They just don't want to wear a mask. That's it. No one's trying to kill you. They just don't care. They don't care about you, but they're not trying to kill you. And no, sir, no, ma'am, this has nothing to do with your freedoms and your liberties. America's Americans need to do a better job about that. And I'm getting nervous at some of the things I'm seeing with respect to what they're trying to take away from us learning in school. Attacking education is it's that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. To me, there's no defense for it. But we'll see, man. I think the mask thing is stupid. I I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not saying you yourself are stupid, but I think the tears over mask is stupid. It comes off as bratty and and I just don't care. And the real funny thing about it is somehow the whole COVID situation is the left. The left is responsible for it, yet it is a global situation. As we see in Canada, as we've seen in New Zealand, and I can understand not agreeing with the measures taken, but at the end of the day, I don't believe you can debate or you can deny that it happens. It has happened for science. Um, I didn't want to spend the whole podcast on this, but it seems like that's going to be the thing. Another thing that I'm seeing a lot is people talking about the Super Bowl, which was outside. Okay, I just don't. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was vaccinated only or not, but it would. But that was there. They could do that. You can't do that in schools. I mean, you can have those vaccinated, but there's a number of students that can't be vaccinated yet. So it's for the children's safety. And in my opinion, a child's safety, and this is tough. I don't want to say it so casually, no pun intended. But to me, a child's safety is more important than a child's comfort. Now, I know that I'm saying comfort, and it seems like I'm not taking into the effect that this is having on their mental health. But when it's your child that happens to be that small number, what do you have to say to that parent? What do you have to say to that child? You're probably going to be all right. Not every child was all right. Not every child just had the sniffles. In fact, there was an uptick, which should concern people. It seems like with each variant, the virus is attacking children more and more severely. Kids will probably be okay. I cannot deny that. More than likely, they'll be fine. But if that was my kid, I wouldn't feel so casual about it, especially if they were in the hospital, and especially to the parents who have lost children, even though it hasn't been a lot. I just that's the thing that just keeps escaping me. It seems like people were like, well, and I've actually heard people say this. People I know, which is surprising. Old people die. That's what they do. If it's your time, it's your time. You know, and that sounds horrible to me. The pandemic, the first 5-6 months of the pandemic were terrifying for me, awful. But I would do it all over again if it could save, if it would help to save lives. I can watch Netflix. I can watch anime. Did I miss seeing my friends? Of course. Did I miss jujitsu? Of course. Did I love, um, you know, not being able to really do anything? Of course not. But you don't, you can't, you can't respond. It's like a certain percentage of the country just put their head in the ground and said, no, nothing bad's happening. This is fine. Everyone's fine. And they weren't, you know, people in New York. And I'm gonna leave on this this last one. This last like stupid, stupid. People say that most of the people that get sick and or die from COVID have comorbidities. Core comorbidities, underlying health issues. 40% of our country has underlying health issues. So that means 40% of our country is at risk from a severe COVID response. Well, so what are you talking about? Oh, well, you shouldn't have been fat. Well, they are fat. They are overweight. You don't have anyone in your family that's overweight? And it's not just, and everyone likes to attack the weight one. It's not just weight. It's asthma. It's vitamin D deficiency. It's you might be battling cancer. Oh, too bad. Come on, man. I think we can do better. Fortunately, we're getting out of it so we don't have to really worry about it. But If they're asking you to wear a mask, wear a mask. If they're not, don't. I don't think anyone should be forced to wear a mask that doesn't, as long as the group, organization, um, facility, whatever it is, if they don't need you to wear a mask, then I'm not saying they should wear a mask. But in the places where they're asking you to, do it. That's freedom. That's what freedom is. Freedom isn't everyone do the same thing. I don't understand that. I don't understand how Florida is beating their chest talking about they're the most free when they're telling people what they can and cannot do. That's not freedom. That's the literal opposite of freedom. Freedom is you want to wear a mask, you have a business and you want people to wear a mask, you can tell them they need to wear a mask because it's your business. And if you can't force them to. That's freedom. Make it make sense on both sides. Sometimes it won't be great. Sometimes you want people to wear masks and the organization doesn't. And that's fine. You have to go in there and abide by what they want if you want what they have. But sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes they do want you to wear a mask. So, out of respect for freedom, you should honor them because they have something you want. But we won't do that. Anyway, that's my podcast for today. Thank you, everyone who checked it out. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe where it's appropriate. And also, when you're in a place where they ask, wear your mask. If they don't, take that bad boy off and enjoy your day. And until tomorrow, stay casual.